Oh, okay. Yeah, you confused me now. Because I thought we were in green pages, and I'm surprised at all these people that are here. Okay, then we can go to the second item then. 15.4. That is where the MM said he wants to be excused.
Speaker, I'll go out of the meeting and I can be called to get into the meeting when you're done with this. And the Director of Corporate Services will take my place in
Speaker?
this item.
Oh.
Councillor Matika? Councillor Matika? Councillor Matika?
No, you can carry on, Speaker, sorry.
Yes, we are on 15.4. There's a recommendation, councillors. Councillor Matika, the hand is up.
I agree with the recommendation, but I just want to ask one. I don't know sometimes our DDP valuers, how they operate, but is it, I don't think it's a correct way to charge 28 Rand a square meter, but we must look at our valuers. Sometimes I don't know how they are doing their valuation, but I agree with the recommendation, Speaker. Thank you very much.
Councillor Wasserman.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the application by the municipal manager to stay at the flat at Senza, I think there are three issues here that we need to speak about. The thing is, the municipal manager is, of course, welcome to stay there, but he must firstly pay a market-related rental. Now, there are a number of arguments in this document with regards to what a market-related rental for that property is. So a valuation was done by DDP valuers, and it was done recently. It was done in February 2020. And they said that a market-related rental for this property was between 5,500 Rand and 6,850 Rand per month. The first problem with that, Speaker, is that their valuation is based on a floor size of 80 meters squared, whereas this property is actually 86 meters squared. So one would expect the true valuation to actually be slightly more than that. Then the acting municipal manager says that the valuation should be more, given the fact that looking at the current state of the entire building. Now, when you have a look at the valuation, it is clear that that is in fact exactly what the valuer has done. In fact, they say at page 30 on this agenda that the valuation has been valued in its existing state. So I think that the argument that it should be lower due to the fact that the building is in a state of disrepair, that is why they've given the valuation that they have. Otherwise, I imagine it would be much, much more considering where this flat is. Then there's the argument that actually we should be looking at the rentals paid by the two directors of technical services and corporate services for the properties where they are. So the director of technical services is renting a property at Buffalo Bay right on the water, and he's paying 4,650 Rand for that, which equates to 28 Rand per square meter. And the director of corporate services is paying 5,300 Rand a month for her house at Lower Old Place, which equates to 25 Rand per square meter. Now, I think anyone who's been in Knysna for even a little bit of time would know that those rentals are extraordinarily low. All that this information tells us is that the rental currently being paid by the directors of technical and corporate are way below the market-related rentals. And I think that this is something that this council needs to investigate. So that's the first issue. I think that the market-related rental for this property is at the very least 5,500 Rand a month. Then there's the suggestion that one should spend 50,000 Rand on renovations of this property for the acting municipal manager to be able to stay in it. Now, he's been with us for 2 months. He'll only be with us for another month. So spending 50,000 Rand for accommodation for that month is just exorbitant and unrealistic. The last issue is with regards to furniture. I'm assuming that the expectation is that the municipality would provide furniture, and that is at an additional cost. So, Speaker, I would think that on the facts that are before us, the proposal doesn't make any sense, and I would really question where it is that the acting municipal manager is currently staying and whether it wouldn't be better for him to just stay there for the remaining month, because to spend 50,000 Rand to renovate a flat for a month's accommodation and to have a proposed rental of 2,400 Rand for this flat at the Heads, it doesn't make any sense at all, Speaker. So if we can accept those changes to say that we don't spend 50,000 Rand a month on renovations, that the acting municipal manager provides his own furniture, and that he pays a market-related rental as given by DDP valuers, then on those conditions, I could say that we could accept the proposal before us. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Councillor Matika and then Councillor Luzuko. And then the Mayor. Councillor Luzuko and then the Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, three things for me. The first one is the recommendation from the acting MM, whereas this matter involves him himself. He's excused himself. I was just wondering that this list is for him, and he also gives recommendations on this. I was just wondering who should be giving the recommendations, or is it him or someone else? Because I think there is a conflict on that one. The second one, Speaker, is the financial implications. I think Councillor Wasserman has touched on that. For me, to say to have that in your financial implications, it's not assisting. You're not telling us what the implications would be. To say the properties have been standing vacant since 2017, 2019, respectively, and you think that explains the financial implications. We used to have a situation whereby you give us how much is council going to spend on this, but I see there is amounts, but they are not financial implications. The third one, Speaker, is on page 5, the second paragraph, the last sentence, where it says the property was placed on tender in 2018 and in 2019 with no responsive bidder. I just want to understand, is that statement correct to say that we didn't receive responsive bidders? Because from what I've heard was that the bidders didn't meet the criteria. So if I can get an answer to that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Zukamaya.
Speaker, at this moment, I don't want to go into this whole figures put forward by both Councillor Wasserman and Councillor Teokolo. But I also need to raise, Councillor Wasserman raise figures of what the current directors is paying, and the current directors is currently still part of this meeting. So I was a bit concerned about that, Speaker, but you the Speaker in that regard. We should be mindful that whatever we say, if we didn't ask certain officials to recuse themselves, we should be careful. Chair, coming back, 2 issues here. After I saw this report, I just went to drive and look at these facilities. I never knew that there was a flat on top of that building. I never knew that. It was the first time that I saw it the day before yesterday, Chair. And I was amazed when you look at the vandalism that is taking place on our facilities. The same applies, Chair, for that house in upper, what is this place called? The council outlet is still standing empty. Upper Old Place, Chair. when you go there and have a look at the vandalism, and we currently have security guards that is protecting that property, Chair, but still being vandalized, then you start questioning what we intend doing with our properties, the way it's been vandalized. And I think previously councillors spoke about the vandalism with the taxi rank. And sometimes I think, what are we really want to achieve through allowing those specific properties to be continued vandalized and even pay security people to look at it, but the vandalism still continue. And some of the issues here, Chair, is the fact that some of this building is standing empty. That's precisely the reason that it's been vandalized, it's standing empty, Chair. So I think what we should look at very seriously, whether we should fill these buildings ASAP to start with, and then properly at the market-related rental, if that is possible. But at one stage, we must be serious about what we do with our properties. On the property at the Heads, fortunately, there were a couple standing there. I know him from him because he's playing golf. I saw him at the golf course once. And then the one person, the woman, came to me and said to me, Mr. Mayor, that, in fact, she congratulated me first. Mr. Mayor, these are the properties that you need to protect for the people of our town. And listening to her, I then understand that properties on the Heads, we should be very careful getting rid of those properties. It's going to be an asset lost forever, forever. An asset that belongs to the people of this town. And she was quite adamant about it. So, Chair, coming back to the argument of both Councillor Theokola and in more specific Councillor Wasserman, I think what council should do, is to determine whether we want to continue those buildings then open. And secondly, if not, how are we going to fill that buildings? I believe, Chair, that we need to look at the second part, that we must fill it ASAP. But I also agree, Chair, that we should look at the situation whereby we don't, and we can't do it because the Act doesn't allow us to rent at our property, not at market-related prices. And with that, I totally agree. But I will not accept the fact, Chair, that we will continue having these buildings then vacant. And I'm starting feeling very strongly as a citizen of this town that we should be very careful that we don't get rid of property, especially property at the Heads, which belongs to the public of this town, to a private person, because that will be property gone forever. Thank you.
Speaker. Speaker. No, Speaker, I agree with Councillor, with the Mayor. Yeah, if we are going to have a lease agreement, let's use the market-related cost. On the issue of Councillor Wasserman, saying that it's only 1 month, we don't know if maybe we're going to extend because the previous case has not yet been concluded. So yeah, we'll deal with that issue when we cross the bridge. So I agree. Let's use the market-related cost, and also we must fast track the Mayor. I'm 100% behind you on the issue that those properties must be occupied. We must fast track. If there is no, in the last time there was no one who met the criteria, maybe we need to check what were the criteria that were set out. We need to revisit those criteria so that we can accommodate our people from Knysna so that they can use that property. that property could bring us a lot of revenue. Yes, I agree with you. We don't need to sell that property, but we need to fast track that. If there was someone did not meet the criteria, then we need to re-advertise and make sure that and amend our criteria. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted to check, maybe we're getting close to some kind of consensus, which would be lovely. So the DDP value is, if I work out correctly, and perhaps someone can help with this, it looks like their market-related rental is about 68.75 meters square, but I don't know whether we need to put that, if that would, we would need to amend B, that talks about a rental rate of 28 per square meter, and that would have to be amended to reflect what DDP valuers have said. Then I just want to ask the mayor if he has any proposals about the, it's not in the recommendations, but I'm assuming it would happen in any event, but if he has any thoughts about the spending of 50,000 Rand on renovations and about providing furniture for this building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I see your hand is up. I see the Director Corporate. I see Councillor Skosana, Councillor Leveil, and Councillor Luzuko.
Speaker, if I'm the first person, I was actually hoping to hear what the Director Corporate Service is saying. But if I'm the first person to respond, my response will be basically on the question raised by Councillor Wasserman. Councillor Wasserman, it's the fact that we eventually will have to spend money on the upgrading of that building down there. We will have to spend money. If we allow it to continue deteriorating in that fashion, we probably end up spending much more money to repair that building. So it's a fact that if we're not going to sell that property, which I will be quite vigorously against it, as a born and bred citizen of the town, then we need to start looking how we're going to spend money to get that building to such an extent that it can be used again. So that is the first part. I don't have the figures. I'm not going to sure how much it's going to cost to repair that building. I just saw there's not a lot of structural damage there, but there are a few, I assume, some paintings at the outside and probably some planks or wood that need to be refitted. I'm not an expert, building expert, to see how much that will cost. On the issue of having furniture in there, it depends on Speaker what council will have to do with it in future. If it is expected from any person of the municipality, I believe at this moment that the person that is currently renting property of the municipality, they supply their own furniture. That is the case, then it should be applicable to any person. I'm not quite sure whether the other directors or people that lease property from the municipality, that we buy furniture for them. If we don't do that, we can't do it for the MM, for example. But om daai gebied of om daai gebou in 'n situasie te plaas waar 'n mens kan leef, you'll have to go and spend some money. And I'm not quite sure what is the amount there. Councillor Wasserman, apologies.
Thank you, Mayor. Director.
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. Partly the mayor has covered me in terms of making the flatlet habitable. Should council resolve that it should be leased to the municipal manager. Therefore, there would be expenses incurred in ensuring that it is habitable, because in its current state, it is not habitable. The second issue was the fact that the Senza building was put out on tender for leasing as resolved by council. And that has been done for 2 consecutive times, and it was not successful. Now, to respond directly to Councillor Jokolo's question, that what do we mean when we say there were no responsive bidders? Indeed, those bidders who had bidded did not meet the functionality criteria which were set in terms of the tender document. So we had to cancel the tender because no one would meet those criteria and it had to be returned. Now we wanted council to express whether they would rather dispose of the property or we try again on putting it out on a lease or request for proposals to lease the property. So we are now getting an indication from the mayor that we would definitely have to go back and put it out on lease again. We will recall that council had resolved to lease it for a period of 20 years, which would make an investment sense to those who would be interested in bidding to list the property. So those were the 2 issues, Madam Speaker, that I wanted to express myself on. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Director. Councillors, Councillor Kusana, I see your hand, and Councillor Davis. I want us to go to the recommendation, colleagues.
Ngosi Somlomo Plumba ndicela ucacelwa nje kakuhle. Apha sithetha ngendlu sifuna uzamela u-MM lo siphetheyo. Bandifunda kahle ithi acting MM. Now,
yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to have some clarity because if I read correctly, we are talking about a property prepared for the MM, acting MM.
Pasijonge ku page 9. Isichazelo ukuthi samqasha ngoJune utata lo sinayo apha kude ephungeni. Ithi londo kwinyanga kaSeptember uyaphelela kuba kunye nathi apha ephungeni. Inyanga zakhe ezintathu uzobe uzigqibile.
If we look correctly on page 9, it shows that the acting MM was contracted from the month of June to be under employment of this council, and therefore his contract will be finishing on September.
Umbuzo ke ndizibuza wona xana ikhala ngento zikhala ngazo apha ku page 9 ngokunyuka esihla nendawo zokuhlala. Behleli phi yangathethi ezovela ngokuxa kushiyeka inyanga because inyanga eshiyekileyo ngaphandle bakho into induku efihlwe emgqubini esingayazi.
The question I have in the questions that he's raising on page 9, why was he quiet all the times and why was he not raising these issues all along? Unless maybe there is something that is hidden that we do not know of, because he's raising these issues only almost at the end of his term.
And okwesibini basisinokuya ku page 10. Andiboni impendulo because xa unomfundo page 10, we are aware that the Western Cape Provincial Government has in the past covered the accommodation and transport costs of officials of the Western Cape Provincial Government, who has, you can read it first, seconded to act as municipality manager. The second paragraph is saying, in light of the above, we want to humbly request the Department of Local Government to assist the municipality by covering the transport and accommodation costs of the acting mayor. I don't see the response of this letter when I was reading through that. What is the local government said when the mayor was requesting this for the MM? Can anyone then take me through in the response? And moving further, we go to page 15. Procedures to follow in the allocation of accommodation. I need to understand from this council that do we have a housing allocation committee? Because it is specified in 7.1 that you need to have a housing allocation committee. Constitution Committee. Let me stop there, Speaker. Thank you.
Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Skosana. Councillor Matika, I see your hand is up, and Councillor Davis.
What Libal Speaker?
Speaker.
And the Deputy Mayor.
Speaker. Ukonje into engathi siyilibala. Engathi siyilibala lapho ememzanga after application yakhe wayifaka apha kumasipala wathi ufuna umsebenzi. Sithetha ngento.
Speaker, there's something wrong.
Apha ngoku speaker sithetha ngento different. Sina sisuke apha sawucela ngapha kumsebenzini wakhe. Apha ehlele nefamily yakhe. Samcela ba makazosihlangula azosinceda basinayo umuntu ozo actor. Ngoku ufuna indawo yokuhlala sithetha amabali apha napha sithetha amabali siyatshona.
Speaker, there's something
ikhona le ilanda imchisayo kule ndawo behlala kuyo. That's why efuna indawo yohlala. Akoni wrong apha uyifuna correctly. Ba ndifuna indawo yohlala lo. Ninthethe ngapha yanhlele nonkosikazi wami nentoni. Nathi manzoni ngihlangula. Ngondi lapha ngufuna ninike indawo yohlala. Unless ke nithi ke kule ndawo babe mhlambe ehlala ku BNB. Unless ke nithi sayibhatalela ba uMM eBNB. MM apha uzonceda thina lokho not the way around. As yena uzonceda thina sithi abaye kuye. So must move any simthoqa bakubhatalwe market related money. MM ku renovate la ndawo ilungiswe. After that lando bithethwa ngumeya, lando bithethwa ngumeya ba la ndawo kukho security squad ya vandalize. Then we must make a follow up by la security company bhatalelwa ntoni. Or la security company must insurance yayithini. Nekulungise lando baye phinde ya vandalize silungisile. Because no bhatala company kanti indawo phinde vandalize. The reason sibhatala security company we pay that indawo zinga vandalize. So xa bekhona bona they must claim security yabo ilungiswe la ndawo. So xa ilungile la ndawo if MM yahamba izophinde advertise for onye umuntu ahlale. Asithethe nga-restaurant esezantsi. Isithe restaurant esezantsi into funeka sidiscuss ecaleni. Sithetha nge-flat khona iflat epha phezulu indawo yohlala. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, there's something that we seems to be forgetting here. It is not the acting municipal managers that came and looked for an employment from us. It is us, this council, this municipality, that went and troubled him and asked him while he was there with his family to come and assist and rescue this municipality. So it should be our responsibility to look at his accommodation, that it is in a proper condition for habitation. So therefore, he's following the procedures in asking and raising these issues. And also, I would have understood if maybe he was in a BNB or something like that. But he's speaking about his accommodation to stay. And therefore, so I think I would agree that let's renovate and do what he's asking, because it is true what if it is true what the mayor raised, that there is security in that place where they are, but that place is being vandalized, then therefore why are we paying security costs in a security company that is not doing its work? Thank you.
Councillor Lebai.
Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker.
And then the Deputy Mayor.
I don't want to belabor this issue. You know, there's so many comments on this, but you know, I just want to, you know, of course, I'm not speaking at such a late period. You know, I just want to clarify something. So, basically, we're saying that there's a particular market value for that particular rental at the Senza place flat, and it's at a certain amount. It's going to be fixed at a certain cost, but then the rental is still going to stay very little as what it is now. I can't understand why the rental would not be more, but be it as it may, that boggles my mind still. So that I've got a bit of a challenge there, that the rental still is quite, considering if you're going to put an investment to repair it, that it's still going to be so low. So I will continue to have a challenge with that issue. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Lebai. DM.
Yeah, somlomo inkosi kakhulu man. Speaker, bendicinga ubana ndizungena kulomba. Kodwa ndiyabona ubana mandingene Speaker, because ndinexhala kancinci somlomo.
Speaker, I thought I was not,
Speaker,
I was not going to take part in this debate, but let me also have an input, because I've got a concern.
Ixhala lam speaker lisekubeni ireport icacile apho siyayifumana ireport that ikhona ibuilding pha and le building iya-vandalizwa okanye ikistate ikimeko embi kakhulu.
There is a report here that shows that the building is in a very bad and uninhabitable condition because of being vandalized.
And andibona isizathu sentobana sinakunika umunicipal manager u-MM wethu ahlale pha, you know, with the rate is esuggestwayo up, so that ze kuthi xa i-building irenovatiwe then sireconsiderishe ke ngoku i-rate, singathethi nge-market rate, nge-market related rate apha kwi-property engekho ki-standard esikula level emela ikuso.
I do not see any reason for us not to be able to renovate the property. We can only speak about the market-related accommodation price only when that place is renovated. At present, it is not renovated, that property.
So we expect njani umuntu makabhatale i-market-related price because it hurts. Because ikwindawo ekwizinga eliphezulu kodwa the property in question ayikho kimeko suppose ukuthi ikwi-level emele ukuba ikuyo.
So how do we expect for a person to pay a market-related price value while it is not in a good condition for that value?
Speaker, I want to support Councillor Matika to say, ndifuna umsupport uMatika ngelithi noba u-MM ushakelwa ixesha engakanani, the fact of the matter isengu-MM wethu, you know, masimnike le ndawo yohlala ze sithi xana irenovatiwe sibuye size etafileni. Those are the understand le debate abasawuke ngoku abantu bafuna uba technical kodwa i-report iyasixelela imeko yala property. I mean, this is right lento. I mean, the report kuzona ayikhansileni so that thina silibhunga sizawuthatha isigqibo. Now I therefore speaker support Councillor Matika and the supporter nobani u-MM makayinikwe le property ze sithi xa sigqiba urenovate ke ngoku ze siyothetha ngoku-market related price. I don't have a problem with that. And okwesibini uMatika ucorrect. And you understand into bana South security ezikhona pha sibe sikhipha sibhatala security, the very same property i-security ezimele zayijonga iyophulo ayijongekanga ngehlobo emele ijonga ngalo. So therefore speaker ndiyafuna masivale lena ntsika andikuzijikeleza apha ingathi asiyazi uba sifuna ntoni. U-MM ukhona and ngu-MM wethu uMatika ucorrect. U-MM akazange aze kuthi sithi abaya kuye sathi makazosinceda ayithi loo nto leyo ke akazubhatala akafuneka ebhatele. But on this one I think let's stick with the recommendation. Speaker, thank you very much.
Speaker,
may I see your hand is up?
Speaker, just some closer portions that the Deputy Mayor does support the sentiments of Councillor Matika and also addressing the issue
I'm still in the meeting, he doesn't believe me. It's Solomon.
Can we go to the recommendation? May I see your hand is up?
My hand is up as well, Speaker.
Yes, Councillor Weideman. And Councillor Salas, is your hand up? Councillor Weideman?
Speaker, can you hear me? Can I carry on?
Yes, Councillor Weideman.
Thank you very much. Speaker, earlier on, Councillor Wasserman saying right at this moment. I think that we are actually, the purpose of this report is to request and to consider the leasing of that property by the acting MM. We are now going totally off the beaten track. We need to continue paying it for that 1 month, and then maybe this whole item about redoing the apartments and broken properties, and that could go become another item at another time. But we should have building now. We are supposed to be discussing the leasing of the municipal right now, and why can we not just pay his accommodation for this month? I'd like someone just to please answer me on that.
Councillor Selassie, I didn't get Councillor Wasserman there, but Councillor Selassie?
Okay, Speaker. Speaker, man, when I disappeared, okay, I want to put in that way because my battery is a little bit smaller now. But when I disappear, it doesn't mean I unrespect of you, Speaker. Okay. But Speaker, in this issue, Speaker, I think to me, I think I supported to go with the recommendation. We must, before we can list to somebody the house, we must be use the money, must be repair. If you want to make a business, you must put the money first and then you get the money. Even if it's not municipal manager, whatever we are doing, we are put the money. We must agree that we use the money to upgrade that house and then we can do the business. That's why I'm supporting the recommendation. Unfortunately, the technicality whatsoever is bigger and so and so and so. Instead of vandalizing the house, nandicela into yokuba sithathe ne recommendation njengebinjalo what ezakwenzeka kumasipal manager kwixesha elizayo end of term. It's not part of the debate ngoku. I-debate ekhona yoba siyavumelana nangoku into yoba indlu mayilungiswe ihlale ready for basenze business kuyo. Masivumelaneni ngaloo nto. Singaxoxa ngomasipal manager singazomazi noba uzawuthini na. Indlu isenongena yena, isenongena omnye umuntu, kodwa laa ndlu funeka ilungisiwe, maspend imali phaa. Basiyavumelana bayikhona unless udirector waka-finance uthi ayikho imali yorenovate laa ndlu. Uyawutsho kumasipal manager udirector athi ayikho imali yoba kurenovate laa ndlu, then sibuye siyoyilista ilela hlobo. Enkosi, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Selassie.
Speaker, just in short, the councillor is saying that therefore we need to agree that let us renovate that property. The debate now is not about the end of his term or who's going to stay there, because it does not matter who stays there, even if he stays or who stays there in the future. It is a responsibility of this municipality to renovate that property, to do business in the property. And that can not be done only if there is no money or finances to spend on renovating the property. But if there is finance to spend to spend in renovating the property, let it be done. Then we can have a way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Maya, do you want to say something on this so that we can conclude and go to the recommendation? I see the legal service, your hand is up.
Speaker, just give the legal service.
Speaker, very quickly. Yes, thank you, Speaker. Very quickly, I really don't want to take up any further time, but there was a question asked by my councillor, Councillor Skosana, with regards to the Housing Allocation Committee. Councillor Skosana, this is a very different matter. And this is the reason why the item is before council. Ordinarily, it would only be Renwell as the properties admin officer and 2 other staff members that would consider an application for rental, and then the rental agreement would be concluded with the municipal manager. Now the delegations doesn't allow for the mayor to do that, and that's why we brought this item, and also for council to consider the MM rather than have his subordinates consider whether or not to grant him staff housing. Secondly, the biggest cost at the Senza restaurant, Renwell and I have had a discussion about it, is the electricity. There is no electricity on the premises at the moment. The DB board is broken, and it is for that reason that we have an actual security guard doing duty at night rather than having an alarm system in the place, which is cost is less. Our property section is also advised that it would mainly be material costs and the labor portion could be performed by our own internal carpenters, and then it would be the replacement of the carpet that would be an additional cost in the renovation. However, council could decide that they want to go rather with a market related value. We just brought in the other comparables when it comes to what council is renting their own properties out at this moment. Council, yeah, I think that's it, Speaker, from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Maya?
Speaker, now, thank you very much. I'm glad I allow the legal manager to speak before me. Chair, quite simple. We assist the MM with housing, or we don't assist the MM. It's a simple decision by this council. Secondly, Chair, we continue our houses being vandalized, and you've just heard there's a security guard in the evening, not in the day. But go and have a look, all those buildings during the day are closed. All those flats, there's nobody in those flats. There's a spookdor daar on the kant. So we could allow these people to continue and eventually break the thing down to the ground. And then we can be held accountable for that also. Because that in itself for me is a clearly waste of council's money and resources. In closing, Chair, I've raised the issue about market related. I've raised the issue about furniture, but I cannot understand the fact that we debate these things now for close to an hour and still doesn't come to a conclusion. Simple, we assist the municipal manager or we don't assist him, and then we continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Can we go to the recommendation? There's a recommendation A. The report in the annex regarding the leasing of municipal property to the acting municipal manager be noted. Then there's a second one that said B.
But you haven't answered my question.
Sorry, Speaker.
Director Corporate.
Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Speaker. I was going to advise that the recommendation, looking at the flow of the discussion in the meeting, it is clear that council in principle agrees or approves to lease the flatlet on top of the Senza restaurant to the municipal manager for the duration of his employment. I would also advise that we put a C, that a report on the status of Senza and other vacant municipal properties be submitted to council, so that all these discussions that ensued in this item should then be discussed and resolved on that particular report. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Weideman, can you repeat your question?
My question was,
there's a problem with your sound.
We
That's
can
what
do
I
this
didn't
item
hear
about
you.
renovation at a later time.
Councillor
But can we
Weideman,
not
there's
just
a
carry
problem with
on
the sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but there's a problem
Is
with
that
the
better?
sound.
I haven't had a problem the whole day.
Okay, Councillor Wasserman.
Thank you. Just to move things along, Speaker.
Have you heard Councillor Weideman? Because there's a problem with the sound.
I did. She's asking why we can't just pay for the acting municipal manager to stay where he is for the remainder of his contract. Then we won't have to renovate anything. That was her question.
Okay, don't think that's possible. Melanie?
Thank you, Speaker. Councillor Weideman, we have Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes.
Speaker, we have raised that issue. We addressed correspondence to the office of MEC Bradell to ask exactly the question that Councillor Weideman is raising now. However, province has advised us that it will go against the upper limits for total remuneration for senior managers.
Thank you, Melanie.
And from that, following that, the executive mayor addressed a letter to province to ask if they are not willing to contribute to the costs, as they do with MMs that are seconded by them. I don't know, Mayor, if you've received a response from MEC Bradell.
Speaker, can I carry on with my? Thank you so much. I just wanted to point out to the mayor that there is a security guard there during the day. We met him the other day when we were at Senza. The other thing is that the acting municipal manager earns over 100,000 Rand a month, and the fact that we're asking people for help for his accommodation is quite extraordinary. Speaker, there isn't consensus about going ahead with this lease. I think there would be if we went renovating to the tune of 50,000 Rand and providing furniture for this. So you please record my vote against this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. There was an amendment by the Director Corporate.
Speaker, I just need to respond to Councillor Wasserman. I just love her enthusiasm in this regard, Speaker. I think the answer of the MEC was no. That was a question earlier, that they're not going to assist. And then secondly, Chair, forget about the MM now. I now understand that this council is prepared for their property to continue being vandalized. And I want to be quite clear. Vacant property, those of us that own property, you don't need a person personally to vandalize a property. The mere fact that nobody is occupying that property and nobody's looking after that property in itself make that property, Chair, goes clearly been vandalized. So I'm a bit concerned with the way that people want to react in this regard, Speaker. I'm living with these things. Whatever this in the council being taken, I'm living with these things. But I will tell councils quite clearly, go and have a look at these properties for a while. Don't make decisions you don't know what's happening there.
Speaker. Councillors, there's a recommendation A, B, and there's a C that the Director Corporate have added to it. Councillor Wasserman, yes, Councillor Crouch.
Thanks, Speaker. My hand has been up for a long time. Speaker, I agree with the recommendation as it is, but I must say, if it was a white wanting to stay on the heads, the DA would have welcomed it. And they would have read.
No, Speaker, absolutely.
I agree. We are on the recommendation now. I'm not going to allow. Thank you.
Speaker.
I do agree with recommendation A, B, and the C that was added by the Director of Corporate.
Speaker, Councillor Pomerans.
Councillor Pomerans.
No, I don't agree. I want my vote against that recommendation recorded, please.
Thank you, Councillor Pomerans.
Speaker, it's Councillor Chokolo. I also record my vote against that. And Speaker, can you ask Councillor Klaus to withdraw what she said?
Thank you, Councillor Chokolo.
Can you ask her to withdraw?
Who else? Who else?
Councillor Scosana, Speaker, I'm going with the recommendation that we allow the MP and the mayor to do the leasing agreement with the recommendation in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaker, Councillor Kwinana, I don't agree with you. Thank you.
Yes. Councillor Weideman.
Yes, if you go with the recommendation, please record that.
Thank you.
Speaker.
Anyone else?
Speaker, Councillor Tsengwa, I support the recommendation, Speaker. I support. Thank you.
Speaker, Councillor Struble is also against the recommendation.
Okay.
Speaker, Councillor Matiwana support the recommendations.
Thank you.
Speaker, Councillor Nglezu, I support the recommendation.
Thank you.
Councillor
Speaker.
Matika, I support the recommendation, Councillor Matika.
Speaker, it's Councillor Nike. I support the recommendation.
Speaker,
Yes.
Councillor Van Altwegen, and I want to be quite clear in what the recommendation is. I just heard that people said I support and I don't support, Chair. A remains as it is.
Yes.
B, if B is not market related, Chair, then we need to find out what is market related rental. Because I believe that if that is the policy of council, we cannot bypass those type of policies.
Okay.
That we rent out our property at market related rental. So I want to be clear on that one, whether that is market related for 28 rand per square meter, Chair. Then I think it should be quite put clear that the municipality is not going to provide furniture for that property, Chair, and that is the responsibility of the person that rent or lease the property from the municipalities. Is responsible to provide furniture. We can't expect the municipality to provide furniture for that because we don't do it for other officials. The third one.
B is talking about the 28 square meter, and I don't know if that's market related. Can somebody assist us here? And then there's a C that the director have added, saying that they will come with a report.
So Chair, is quite clear, but we need to understand whether that B is market related. If it's market related, Chair, then we can go with B. If it's not, then we need to find out what is market related. And I think it's important, Chair, that we do accept the fact that we have that responsibility, Chair, to revenate, what is the correct word I'm looking now for, vir die herstel van ons eiendom, die verbetering van ons eiendom. Ek soek nou net die correcte Afrikaans of Engelse woord, but I think that the legal services could assist me there. That remains our responsibility, our property.
Speaker, thank you. Mayor, Councillor Wasserman has already indicated earlier on that there is, and you will also read from the content of the report, there is a valuation report on the entire property, which includes the flatlet from DDP valuers. What the property section has done is they have done a comparable on what current municipal properties is being rented out for, but it is entirely up to council to accept and not. Please, Mayor, don't resolve to get a valuation because we already have one if you are looking for market related. The administration, however, did a comparable on what we are currently charging for our properties per square meter.
Speakers, I'm quite clear that I said it should be market related, leasing of that property, and we are responsible, Chair, to repair our own properties. Chair, listening to what the manager said, it's about a DB board and our own staff that need to repair that property, Chair. And then probably as part of that, that we're not responsible as a council to provide furniture for the MM or whoever is releasing our property.
Melanie, can you just assist us with the recommendation here?
Chair, thank you. If I capture you correctly, Mayor, if I'm wrong, please help me. That B will then be that the executive mayor be authorized to conclude a lease agreement with the acting municipal manager for the flatlet at Senza at a market-related rental. C, that the municipal manager, Mayor, I think we don't have to have a C for that. We can just in B say that it is an unfurnished, for the unfurnished flatlet at Senza at a market-related rental, and the C would be that a report be submitted to council on the current status of all council properties that are currently vacant and the procurement process is followed with the Senza restaurant, if I'm capturing the director corporate correctly, but she can assist as she is still here.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
I
And we
hope
take-
that is what
we
I
take the
have from you.
We take the 28 square meter out.
That is
Speaker,
correct, Speaker. The mayor can use the valuation that is already attached in the report if he so, sorry, not the mayor, if council so resolves.
Yes.
Speaker,
you.
if that is the recommendation, I will then support that recommendation.
Let me start over. There's a recommendation now in front of us. Councillor Tsengwa, are you still supporting it?
Speaker, Councillor Skosan, I'm supporting my lawyer. I'm supporting that lawyer. 100%.
Councillor Skosana, Haibo. Councillor Tsengwa.
Councillor Tsengo just went to the Klein Hasty Speaker.
Councillor
But I'm
Skosana
sure he's
supporting it. Councillor Matiwana. Councillor Matiwana. Councillor Nezu. Councillor Nezu.
Supporter.
Councillor Naki.
In support.
Councillor Matika.
Supporter. Yeah, supporter.
Matika, support.
The mayor has supported the recommendation. Councillor Matiwana.
Yeah.
Councillor
I
Matiwana.
support, Speaker.
Thank you.
I support,
Who
Speaker.
else is supporting the recommendation?
Speaker said I support.
Who else is supporting the recommendation?
Skosana, Speaker.
No, I've got you.
Okay.
Unfumene mna titi.
Have you captured me, Councillor Naki, Speaker?
Who else is supporting the recommendation? Councillor Melanie, as your hand is up.
Oh, sorry, old end, Speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Speaker, unfumene mna.
Yes.
So.
I also support the recommendation.
Where's Councillor Ace? He must support.
Where's Councillor Ace?
Oops. Oops.
Thank you, I don't.
Councillor Ace?
No, I said thank you, I don't support.
Okay, I think the recommendation is carried.
Speaker,
Yes, Councillor Wolmeran.
do you want us to repeat again that we are not in support?
Yeah, I've got Councillor Wasserman, Councillor Wolmerans, Councillor Chokolo, Councillor Quinana, Councillor Weideman, Councillor Strubel, and Councillor Ace. Can we move, councillors?
Excuse me, Councillor Opperman against the recommendation.
Sorry,
Speaker.
Speaker.
Councillor Salazar vote.
Speaker.
Yes.
Sorry, man, I had a technical problem now. I didn't hear anything, but I assume that are you doing voting now?
No, I suggest those who support the recommendation as amended.
No. Oh. Just read it to me, please. Can you just tell me where we are? I'm actually against the recommendation.
Are you against the recommendation?
Yes.
Speaker,
Yes,
Speaker, we should be quite clear to councillors what the recommendation is. And
yes.
I think Councillor Leville Davis has the right, whether he agrees or not agree, to know exactly what the recommendation is. So I think we just need to repeat that recommendation so that Councillor Leville Davis precisely know what he's voting against or what he's voting for, Chair. I think it's important that people understand that, because this thing, Chair, it's going to have nadreis soos in Afrikaans.
Okay. Councillor Melanie, can you repeat the recommendation, please? Thank you.
Recommendation.
Just a second, Speaker. Speaker, then B would be that the Executive Mayor be authorized to conclude a lease agreement with the Acting Municipal Manager for the unfurnished flatlet at Senza for a period not exceeding the duration of his employment and at a market-related rental. The C would be the reports that Council required for in respect of Senza and all other unoccupied municipal properties.
Councillor David, have you heard that one?
Madam Speaker, I'm still against it. Thank you. I don't see the rationale. It's got nothing to do with the MM per se or anything. It's just got to do with the rationale. I'm totally against that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis.
Speaker, where are we now?
Yes.
Speaker, can I speak?
Yes.
I haven't recorded Councillor Selasi's vote. Perhaps he can just refresh his vote, please.
Okay. Councillor Selasi? I remember he said he will have problem with his phone. We just need to check on him. Is someone checking on Councillor Selasi?
Yes, Speaker.
Speaker, are we now going to wait for someone who's not in the meeting?
You mustn't try that one, Councillor Tokolo.
It's a question, Speaker.
It happened twice, remember?
Councillor Opperman. Councillor Opperman, you must remember, Councillor Opperman.
Sister, please, man. I'm addressing the speaker, not you.
Councillor Opperman, you must remember. Just saying to you.
Speaker, you see, you allow these things to happen.
Yeah? Ngayifuni uyayazi kodwa yenzeka qho kwaCouncillor Opperman. Nangoku angavote.
He's coming back.
Nobucima kusedameni apho sibala. Akho sedameni apho.
Interpreter, please interpret for us also so that we can be part of the conversation that is going on now, Speaker.
MM, I see your hand is up.
Sorry,
Speaker.
Yes, Speaker, I'm just saying that I'm back.
Speaker.
I found Councillor Selasi. He's now on the phone with me. He's got connection problems. Councillor Selasi. You can speak. You can speak.
I can speak here.
Speaker, can you just repeat for Councillor Selasi also like you did for Councillor Lavelle?
Speaker, on a point of order, Speaker.
Councillor Selasi, we on the recommendation for the accommodation for the MM, for the A, B, and the C.
Speaker, but then I need to leave. I thought you're done.
Oh, sorry, MM, I was just saying we're not done yet.
Oh, sorry, then I'm leaving. You can let me know when I can come back.
Melanie, can you just repeat the recommendation for Councillor Salase?
Speaker.
Councillor Chokolo.
I'm going to charge him extra for this, Speaker. It's B. Councillor Salasi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I hear you.
That the executive mayor be authorized to conclude a lease agreement with the acting municipal manager for the unfurnished flatlet at Senza for a period not exceeding the duration of his employment and at a rental rate and at a market-related rental rate. And the C part would be for the report. I don't know if the director corporate is going to have to assist Carl and Joel with the correct wording of what she recommended. But C, Councillor Salazi, would just be a report on the current status with the rental of Senza and other vacant municipal properties.
Yes.
I've never seen such a joke.
There is the recommendations, Councillor Salazi.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So we are voting. Other councillors already voting, Melo.
Yeah, Councillor Salas, you must say, do you support it or not support those recommendations?
No, I support in that recommendation.
You support it.
This is a joke, really.
Thank you.
Councillor Luzuko.
Thank you, Councillor Salas.
I really now want to address you.
No, Speaker. The other councillors are
I want
speaking.
to address you.
Please try and connect again.
We were doing this roll call here. Councillor Davis was nowhere to be found. He just came on afterwards. I waited for him and we actually readdressed the whole recommendation for him.
But Speaker,
I really take exception about what you are doing to me.
If you were applying the rules, Speaker, you wouldn't,
Speaker,
you wouldn't be here.
You must tell Councillor to must listen to you. It's not Kaile to hear.
This is the last time I'm going to address
of the town. You are not a speaker of the
Kaile.
Kaile. You must listen to. Councillor Kikola doesn't want to listen. You are not speaker of the Kaile too. You are speaker of the town. You must listen. You must respect the speaker. The speaker is competent, not like you.
We are now going to go to the committee items.
Speaker.
Councillor Weideman.
You're joking.
You joke when joking.
He's not in the meeting. Anybody is not in the meeting.
Who's not in the meeting?
With the telephone.
Who's not in the meeting?
Councillor Salazi cannot play.
Councillor Salazi is on the meeting. What are you
saying?
Speaker, Councillor Salas is on. He's
here. Councillor Salas in the meeting, Councillor Weideman. There he is.
Speaker.
Yes, he is now.
Thank you, Councillor Weideman.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, Kaka.
I can then confirm that the recommendation A, B, and C as amended is carried 10 votes to 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.